And the news at 311 with Joe and Vickie Fellers.
Yes, indeed.
And the news.
Good evening, and welcome to the Santa Monica News at 311. I'm Vickie Fellers.
And I'm Joe Fellers.
And you have the top news story.
Yes, on the sports scene. Bill Walsh has agreed to become a new contract with, or actually agreed to a new contract, or he's become a new contract with NBC TV, turning down an offer to become head coach and general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As you know, Walsh, a 59-year-old former coach of the San Francisco 49ers, reportedly had been offered $2 million a year by the Buccaneers to return to coaching, and he acknowledged that he had been tempted in addition to all the free cars and other things he'd been offered. Although Walsh had been mentioned in connection with other jobs, the Tampa Bay job was the only one that he'd been considered. In terms on a somewhat sadder scene, in terms of heart ailments, Italian doctors may have found a way to identify the potentially fatal heart condition that struck Hank Gathers, the former Loyola Marymount basketball star, who died after collapsing during a game in March of last year. Gathers died from a heart condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and the disease causes the walls of one of the four chambers of the heart, called the left ventricle, to become thick, cutting down on the heart's ability to pump blood. The Italians believe this is directly caused by eating too much lasagna. Anyway, they believe that hypertrophic cardiomyopathy in athletes has been difficult to diagnose, but because the walls of the left ventricle also tends to thicken as a result of intense physical conditioning. But they found that a new method may help doctors more easily distinguish a healthy thickening of the heart due to lasagna, as opposed to the condition, which has been written by Dr. Antonio Pelliccia of the Institute of Sports Science in Rome, which also specializes in cooking Italian food. Finally, and let's go over to Vickie for some real news.
Okay, from the I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore in education department, the leader of a Santa Monica neighborhood group said Wednesday that she will do whatever it takes, including recalling school board members, to stop the city school district from opening a high school in Malibu. Suzanne Brewer, president of the Sunset Park Associated Neighbors, said members of her group are outraged by a proposal to open a college preparatory high school in the hills above Zuma Beach. According to Brewer, if Malibu gets a high school, Santa Monica High will become a trade and business school with the elite out in Malibu with an ocean view. The school officials said Brewer is misinformed on the issues. Our advice to Ms. Brewer: hit the books and do your homework before you open your mouth. Now back to Joe.
Thank you, Vickie. Finally, on the sports scene, Todd Maravich will announce today that he's leaving USC and entering the NFL draft as a sophomore, a source close to the player said actually Wednesday, which was yesterday. Maravich has signed with an agent, the source said, and will hold a press conference at his father's gymnasium inside the Anaheim Hilton this morning. Maravich apparently reached the decision long before his suspension on January 11th and arrest on January 12th in Newport Beach for a misdemeanor cocaine and marijuana possession. He's playing well, but also having a good time. And Vickie, let's go back to you.
And this news story, from the kind of news that has made this channel famous for the news at 311, the U.S. Hosiery Company has been instrumental in the Desert Storm operation. According to the Hosiery Company, guns may keep jamming and and possibly lives saved thanks to an industry-wide effort by U.S. hosiery manufacturers to help our servicemen and women involved in Operation Desert Storm. It seems that hosiery companies are knitting gun covers to protect the weapons from sand and dirt. The dedication of hosiery workers knitting the 412,000 socks for dusty M16s is indeed admirable. It's the kind of image that stirs pride in a people at war. Whether that publicity will sell more hosiery is another question. Of course, our advice from this news channel is that if everyone is waving a flag, it's tough to stand out in a crowd. That's all the news that's fit to be heard on the news at 311.
So be with us again at 10 o'clock when we'll cover more news stories that you really didn't care about. And we'll also attempt to have the latest breaking news bulletins from the Mideast, Midwest, Far South, Far East, Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of Tonkin, and Gulf Oil. Not to mention those people who believe that it is better to give than to receive. And as we say in the news business, that's all.